So we're doing another story time. This is not old, this is current. If you have not seen, I did relax my hair again. Y'all saw I waited like a whole 9 months. I know it was agonizing. If y'all thought it was long for you guys, imagine me. Like, having to style my hair and protect the styles for that long was literally killing me. But anyways, I have relaxed my hair, so if you want to see that full process and everything, head over to my channel. That video has already gone live, so we're fully in our like silk press, relaxed hair, straight hair era again on this channel. Some of my funny middle school stories, things that happened to me when I was in middle school. So let's get into it. If you guys don't know, I moved around quite a bit when I was younger. I moved to Detroit, and that was probably like the longest place I had lived up until I moved to college to Chicago. I was like, look, okay, we can do this moving thing, but once I hit high school, like, we gotta stop it. Like, for 4 years, can we please chill? Because I don't want to be the new kid in high school. I moved to Detroit. We were living in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and specifically the suburb of Caledonia. And my brother went to East Kentwood. If any of you guys live in Grand Rapids, I went to Pinewood Middle School, which is like literally right next to East Kentwood. And my school was very diverse. It wasn't like a predominantly white school. I will say, like, back then, I don't know how it is now, it was a good mixture. Like, you had Asian kids, you had Indian kids, you had black kids, you had white kids. Like, you had kids from like all races. It was a very good mix. But when my parents said we were moving to Detroit, part of me was sad. Like, a big part of me was sad, but the other part of me was like, ooh, like, this is a city. And let me tell you guys, from a young age, I was very obsessed with like moving to New York City one day. So in my mind, I was like, I'm moving to a mini New York City, girl. So the first thing that like really threw me off about this move to Detroit, we went to go visit Detroit. And I told you, right, like, I had it in my mind that like Detroit was like a mini New York City. They drive through downtown, and I was crushed, heartbroken, because downtown Detroit then does not look like downtown Detroit now. When I moved there, downtown Detroit was all abandoned. The only thing that was there was Cobo Hall. I think they didn't change the name to something else, but I'm gonna call it Cobo forever. Everything was pretty much abandoned. They maybe had like 1 or 2 little restaurants. They maybe had like a couple of streets. They had the Greektown Casino. They had like a couple of streets where it was like kind of clean kept, that you could tell like, okay, this is the places where people are developing. But like, majority of downtown Detroit was like, you don't want to be there. I told you I was living in the Disney Channel. Caledonia, Michigan, Kentwood, Michigan, like the outskirts of Grand Rapids, like, was very cookie cutter, multicultural, everyone's welcome here, but it wasn't no poverty. Like, I hadn't seen a homeless person until I moved to Detroit. And that's when I really started getting like, I started getting upset, because I was like, look, I was sad to leave my friends, but I was kind of okay with it if we was coming to the city. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. And we moved in the middle of the school year, right? They were supposed to, like, where my dad was working, they were supposed to help get me into a good school, because the good schools that were in DPS were hard to get into, because as you can imagine, it's a free public school that's good. Everybody wants to get into them. They were supposed to, they did not. And I ended up going to a neighborhood school that was by our house that we moved into. I was out of school actually for a while, and my mama was like, look, she can't be out of school for this long. They're gonna hold her back next year if we keep her out. On the east side, in this neighborhood, it was a gated community within the city. I think it was like the only one. It's called Victoria Park, and it was off of Jefferson and Dickerson. Also, can we talk about like, hello? There was a school outside of our neighborhood. It was called Remus Robinson Middle School. This is the point where my parents dropped me off at UPN after I had been on the Disney Channel for basically all of my like remembrance. I was like, girl, what? Remus Robinson? I just knew by the name. Now, I might not have been street smart, but I knew by the name. I was like, this don't sound kosher, Wendy. We didn't have a choice, because all the other schools Like you couldn't get into them. Like they had super long wait lists. It was middle of the year. Now this is also the first time, actually no, it's not the first time, because I went to a Catholic school like first grade in Georgia. But as like an older kid, this was the first time I had to wear a uniform. Remember, I was going to school in Disney Channel. I was wearing my cute little outfits to school every day. I used to love getting dressed for school every day. And mama told me I had to wear a uniform. I was like, you have got to be shitting me. And on top of that, I was like, these aren't even the cute uniforms with the little plaid skirts and whatnot. It's black or blue pants and a white or blue shirt. We get to the school like just to like see it one day. You know how you can go up to the school or whatever and like basically like get registered for school. When I went in that school, it literally, I was Julia Childs in Save Last Dance. I was like, oh, this is some other shit. I had never been to a school where I was going to school with like mostly all black kids. And I'm gonna say this with love, okay? It was GHETTO. Ghetto to the ground, babe. The first like thing that like really shocked me, we were like reading out loud in class. The teacher was picking who was reading, and so she picked me. I was reading, and this kid busted out and said, dang, she read like the teacher. I said, ooh. And I will say I was a very read child. A well-read child. Like I could finish like a book in a day if I like was really into it, and I would used to do that all the time. I would just sit and read a book one day. And then the other thing that was like such a like blow for me, if y'all don't know, I really enjoy food. Food is one of my favorite things. Let me just paint a picture for you like what I left. We had like burgers and fries like you had different stations. One station was like burgers, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, supreme burger, whatever, fries. The fries was bomb. Then you had like the hot lunch, like whatever they had like specifically like made for us that day. Then they had a salad bar which had like all like the different salad toppings. You had a dessert station, you could get ice cream. Like I was literally going to High School Musical, whatever. When I got in that lunch line and I saw that I only had one option for lunch, it was whatever they had made today. That was my option to eat. I couldn't pick nothing else. I was livid. I was like, oh, absolutely not. Like something has to be done here. Let me just tell you about this time where I almost got jumped. Yeah. I don't even know like how the situation came about, but it was, and I hate to be that girl that be like, they were just jealous, but I really think it was just like because I was new, I was different. I didn't really talk to that many people. Last day of school was like a circus. It was like run for your life if you can. There was this group of girls that did not like me. You think you too good. You think you too good for us. And I was like, in my mind I was like, yeah. Which by the way, I don't think that that's a bad thing sometimes, to think you're too good for certain things. Like, yeah, that can be true. And there was actually like this one girl that was really nice that I would talk to. And she was like, you know, she kind of gave me the head tip. I don't even remember her name. But she was like, look, you know, like last day of school, it kind of gets, you know, a little rowdy around here. And she was like, and I don't think these girls like you. So, just make sure your mama is ready to come and get you last day of school. And I was like, girl, bet. You don't have to tell me again. The bell rang. And I was like, let me get mine to my locker so I can get my stuff and I can go home. And they started following me. They started following me to my locker, or like to our locker area. I'm getting my stuff. I'm just like, and my idea was like, if I just ignore it, it won't happen. I feel like I was literally this close to getting jumped. I'm walking out the school. Like they were walking behind, they were so close. When I tell y'all, I feel like I was so close to getting jumped. They were so close behind me, like yelling. They weren't saying my name, but they were yelling things about me. And I knew they were talking about me and coming after me. They see my mama car and they kind of just like backed off or whatever. But that was when we moved to Detroit, and it was literally a culture shock for me. Mama was like, okay, we got to get her in another school. And so then I started going to this private school, this private all-girl school called Dominican. It wasn't that bad, to be honest. And I met some really good people there, but the all girls school, like it was a middle school and a high school, and my parents was like, oh bet, like she's just gonna stay here and graduate high school from here. And I didn't mind. I was like, okay, fine. Yo, tell me about the school closed down. They was just like, okay, we need to find another school to look for, like once the school closed at the end of the year. They was dragging their feet all summer. All summer. Wasn't nobody looking for me no school to go to. And I'm pointing fingers at you, Wendy. Nobody was looking for no school for me to go to. And I was also going into 8th grade. So it was kind of hard. It was like, we need to find a middle school for her. And then there was like, okay, but like, do we want to send her to a middle school and then she don't have to change and go to another high school like next year? Like maybe we can find a school that like has middle school and high school in it. Like we did that all girls school or whatever. So they ended up, one of my neighbors at the time, she was in high school and she went to a charter school that had middle school and high school. It started at 8th grade, or it started at 7th grade actually. And it went up to 12th grade. My mom and daddy was like, okay, bet, let's send her there. Like literally, like that was all it took. They was like, okay, let's send her there. I remember I went to the school like for a day, like to spend a day there to see if I liked it. I remember I specifically came home and told my mama, no, I did not like it. And why was that the school I ended up going to? Like I said, they was playing with my education. And I didn't like the school. It was just like, I don't know, like I had left the Disney Channel, went to Remus Robinson, and then I went to Dominican, which was an all-girl school. I really liked it after like a month or two. Like at first I was kind of iffy about it, but I ended up liking the school. But then the school closed down, and all of my friends were going to this other all-girls school in the area, and I was like, can y'all just send me there? But I think my parents was just like, we ain't on this tuition thing, we don't want to do that, because it is expensive to send a kid to a private school. They ended up sending me to this charter school. It was called Consortium. Hated it. I did not like this. I did not want to go here. But I didn't really have a choice. So I started there in 8th grade. That's the school I ended up graduating high school from. I will tell you guys about this time where I had a teacher that just did not like me. Like I don't know if anybody can relate to that. And you've just had like a teacher just not like you and you have not done anything to them. You don't know what you did. And this teacher was my homeroom teacher. Okay, I'm not gonna name her name because she's still out there terrorizing children to this day. I had a group of friends in middle school, and I don't even say friends, it was just like girls that I hung out with, because I low-key don't think they really like me. Like one of them did. My friend Renee, we would all sit at the same table together, and my teacher didn't like me, but she also just did not like our group of friends. Like she just did not like us. I won't even say there were like cliques at our school or whatever. It wasn't like popular kids, but she would always put that on us, like y'all think y'all those girls, and we would just be like, no. So she would always kind of like pick on us or whatever. One semester, and I want to say this is like fall semester or whatever, she gave out one homework assignment, literally one. For whatever reason, I did not do the homework assignment. Was it her just hating? Could have been, I don't know. But for whatever reason, it was come to be that I did not do the homework assignment. So we're about to go on winter break and she's discussing grades with us or whatever. And she's telling me, this other girl that I hung out with and this other girl, that we missed a homework assignment and that was like 30% of our grade. And we're like, what? I'm getting nervous because my parents did not play that like, oh, you can bring home a C business. It was A's are preferred, B's are acceptable. C's, that was not a thing in our house. Like, and the only class that they would give me some sort of leeway in was math, because they knew I hated math. I wasn't very good at it. My mom wasn't very good at it. My dad was great at math, but he could not explain it to you. No. That was like torture. So my parents would kind of give me like some leeway when it came to like math and also gym, because they knew I did not like being physical. I got a C in her class. Like she told me I was gonna be like failing her class, but she ended up giving me a C. We had a parent teacher conference, right? And I was never the kid that was like worried about parent teacher conferences, because I generally didn't give my teachers no problems. Like, I came to class, I did my work, and I left. My parents had just raised me to be like, whatever that adult says in that classroom, that is what you do. And if they do something that's like out of line or out of pocket or whatever, it's not your job to go back and forth with them. You come back and you tell us and we will handle it. My mama comes home, I get in trouble. And I'm like, what has happened? This lady done sat up here and told my mama that I'm disrespectful, that I am rude to her, that I literally did not speak 2 words. I never talked to this lady. What was crazy is she came in there and told my mama all that crazy stuff, and my other 2 teachers was like, we don't have that issue with her. Like, she's not disrespectful, she's not rude, she comes in, she does her work. So I was like, Wendy, my mama comes back home, puts me on punishment, and let me tell you how sick Wendy is. Whoopings or whatever were far and few in between. I wasn't getting no whoopings for nothing. Like, I honestly did not give my parents anything to really be upset with me about. Mama was like, I know how to get you. My mama came home from the parent teacher conference and told me, she said, every piece of designer, anything that's in your room, bring it down here downstairs right now. Shoes, clothes, purses, like whatever I had to come downstairs. And I was like, now what? And she was like, it's gonna stay there until your grade is above a C. So I had to wait until progress reports came out, which was like another month and a half. I was like, and I get better comments from your teacher about you. And I was like, what was funny is like right after break, we ended up having picture day. And I was like, I don't have anything to wear for picture day. And she's like, why not? And I was like, because you have all my clothes in the living room, ma'am. I was literally gutted because my mama was like, okay, we're gonna go get you something to wear. And I was like, great, like I get something new to wear, it's gonna be so cute. And it's like a free dress day. Like, you know, if you went to a uniform school, you had a day where you could dress down, like you want to show up in your best, you want to look the cutest, right? My mama drove me right around the street. There was like a Farmer Jack little supermarket right around the street. That's how old I am. If you're from Detroit, I remember Farmer Jack. It was like a little strip mall, it was Farmer Jack, and right next to it was Dots and Rainbow. And she was like, pick which one you want to go in. I was like, oh my god. Back to the teacher that didn't like me. So we had this little party at school. It was called the Grammys. Like, they called it the Grammys or whatever. It was kind of like a homecoming dance or like a winter formal or something like that. So we had this little thing called the Grammys or whatever. And so they also had like a little yearbook committee. So after the party, she asked if any students had like negatives from their little cameras, from their little disposable cameras, if you would bring them in, and if there were pictures of the party, if you could share them so that we could get like, they could get them developed and use those pictures in the yearbook. So I told her, I was like, yeah, I don't know why I volunteered, but I was like, yeah, I have some I can bring in or whatever. And on that camera, my parents had taken pictures of me at home. They had taken pictures of me on the way to the party. They had taken, and I think I had just took other pictures like around the house or whatever to like use up the rest of the film so I could get it developed, right? I come to school after I had like given her the film or whatever, like this like a couple days later. And people were talking to me about my house, like about the inside of my house and how it looked. And I'm like, how would you know that? Like, how would you know what the inside of my house looks like? And this is when it got weird. I was like, you're a sicko lady. She had got the film developed. Like I said, I was taking pictures from like the inside of the house. She was walking around the school showing other children, showing other teachers the inside of my house. I'm like, look where Niara live. It was the weirdest thing to me. Then we had like a class with her later in the day. She starts talking about it in class. She's like, have y'all seen Niara's house? Her house nice. Look at, I was like, that is so weird. That is really weird. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. But anyways, that was a teacher that did not like me for no reason. Let's fast forward to about, let's say like 11th grade. Oh my gosh. I didn't even tell y'all the story about the lady in this little notebook. Okay, we gotta go back to 8th grade for a second. I had like a little boyfriend in 8th grade, right? We had, when we were in her class, she had like bell work for us to do. Basically, like bell work was like, work that you did, like as soon as you got in class and you just like, it was on the board and you sat down, you started doing it or whatever. And we had like a specific notebook for it. Everybody had their own notebook, but you had a specific notebook for it, and you would just hand in the notebook to her and she would grade your bell work, whatever, right? This little boy that I was dating, he did ask me, can I use your notebook? And I think I let him use it one time, and I thought it was just that one time. What I didn't know was he kept using my notebook. He didn't have a notebook of his own, so he kept using my notebook for her class. I would have my class first, and then she would have her class, he would have his class with her after, because we were switching classes and whatever, right? So what he was doing was, I was using my notebook earlier in the day in the front. He would go and use the back half of my notebook or whatever, right? One time she was like, this, what? Because my notebook was like purple with like pink flower. It was a very girly notebook. I was that girl, right? And so she was like, whose notebook is this? Like, I've seen this notebook before. And I'm in another class. This kid, Larry, who ended up like, we ended up all being like in the same friend group, like later in high school, whatever. Larry comes to my other class and he's like, hey, Miss such and such wants to see Niara. And I was like, what? And Larry was like, I don't know, man. Like, I get down to the classroom, and as soon as I walk in, I knew it had something to do with this notebook, because I see the guy that I'm dating standing. He's like, everybody else is sitting down. He's standing at the front of the class. Fun fact, my now boyfriend that I live with was also, this is one of his favorite stories. I think it's hilarious. We met when we were in 8th grade. So he was in the class as well. He saw this foolishness. She holds up the notebook, and I just look at him and I'm like, what did you do? Come on. Like, this lady already don't like me. Don't give her no more reason to not like me. Basically, she thought that I knew he was using my notebook and that I was letting him use it so that he could get the right answers, because what she would do was grade it and give it back to us. So she thought that me letting him use a notebook was like me trying to help him cheat or whatever. And I'm like, girl, I didn't know he had the notebook. Like, I don't know what else you want me to tell you. He got it on my locker. I'm not a ride or die. I'm a snitch. So I'm like, he got it on my locker. He got my combination. Shit. And that was the story of notebook. So fast forward back to high school or whatever, right? And I was dating this one guy, and him and my best friend at the time did not get along. They did not like each other. For whatever reason, my friend was not in class, or was not in lunch with me, which when we had lunch together, but she wasn't in there. She comes bursting into the lunchroom, and she's like, and this is like right when lunch is about to end, she's like, Niara, I just saw him out in the hallway kissing this other girl. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, he was kissing this girl, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's telling me all this stuff. I was like, I don't believe it. But it's also hard, like, when you don't see something for yourself. You're like, do I believe? And that wasn't even like a thing like of our friendship, like oh, she don't like whoever. It wasn't like a thing. But I was just like, I don't know like who to believe. So I told him, I was like, okay. So I told him, I was like, hey, she said that she seen you out here. Like, what's going on? Like, is that true or whatever? Of course, he said that was not true. He was like, no, that's not true. Like, you know, she don't like me, yada, yada, yada. Now in the moment, like I said, at the time, I was like, I don't know, like, who to believe. Now, thinking back, I should have just been like, okay, well, let's just be friends then or something, you know? Another day, we all had one class together in the morning. It was a drama class. So it was kind of like a class you could like bullshit. You could show up late. I'm on my way to school. I'm late. This is like, I want to say like the beginning of my parents' separation or whatever. That's kind of how I categorize things in my life. And why you probably hear me bring it up. It's like post-divorce, during divorce, or after divorce. Or no, pre-divorce, during divorce, or after divorce. That's how I categorize stuff in my childhood. So I'm on my way to school, and both of them, the guy that I'm dating and my best friend, start blowing me up. They're like, you better get her, you better get him, like, I swear, like, that going on and on. And I'm like, what is happening? She won't say really like what has happened, but she's just like, get him, get whatever. And I'm just like, what? And I think at one point she even called me, and I was like, I'm not getting it. Like, cause nobody was really giving me an explanation. He's texting me, telling me like, you better get your friend, I swear, blah blah blah. And I'm like, what is happening? My locker was right by the classroom, and this other girl that had the class with me, she come out the classroom and she just like, Niara. And I was like, what? Like what has honestly happened for y'all to like, what do you know? I see my friend, she's coming out of the classroom, like barreling out of the classroom to get to me first. Niara, but like she's like going off, and I still don't know what has happened. I'm like, I cannot help you if you cannot tell me what went on. Like, I'm like, come, like, just tell me what happened. So I come in, I see him sitting there, and I like sit down next to him. I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? Like, why y'all doing this to me today? And he's like, somehow he explains it to me. It's about a chair, y'all. It's a chair. That's like how high school this stuff was. It's about a chair. Like, she was sitting in the chair first, and he came in and sat down in the chair, and it was about a chair. Once I found out that it was about a chair, and they were literally like both looking to me to like chastise the other person, I was like, I won't. I was like, I do not care about that chair. There are a million other chairs in here. Somebody find a chair and sit in it. High school and middle school, I will say, well, not even middle school, because middle school is rough. But high school, from 8th grade on, was pretty fun, I will say. Like, I feel like my friend group, like, we had a good time. We weren't troublemaker kids. We didn't get in a lot of trouble. We didn't cause a lot of trouble. We really just like minded our business and everything. So that was just story time, me straightening my hair. My hair is all straightened now. If you want to see how this style turns out and everything, just make sure you head over to my channel. Like I said, I have a full relaxed 30-day video. I hope you guys enjoyed story time while watching me flat iron my hair. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.